To close out this week, it's yet another deck profile video and exploring an older archetype that has had minimum to no support. And while I'm still heavily testing some really fun decks, I hadn't really explored the box toppers for this set. MrPhatAlexx is one of the newest box toppers that we receive in BT23. This promo has Alliance and an on-play when Digivolving effect, where you may play one level 4 or lower Digimon card with the Avian, Bird, Beast, Animal, or Sovereign other than the Sea Animal and any of its traits, or the TS trait from your hand without paying the cost. When attacking, once per turn likewise, you get to play the same type of Digimon without paying its cost from your trash. And while its evolution cost is 4 from a purple or yellow Digimon, from a Beastkin or TS trait card, it's only 3 memory. And that got me thinking, is the Dark Animal engine perfect for this card? Per the usual, this video looks at a few cards for the deck before diving into some combos that will make sense of the overall deck profile. In no way is this deck profile perfect, but it does provide a baseline starting point for you to start. Purple is one of the strongest colors in the Digimon card game, offering in my opinion 2 out of the 3 things that any competitive deck needs: consistency and memory efficiency. It's because of this that Purple has 2 of the strongest engines in the Digimon card game, whether you're going with the Guilmon base or a dog base. But because the Guilmon base doesn't mesh with MrPhatAlexx, of course it was time to explore how good the dog engine truly was. Briefly, the dog engine looks at utilizing powerful effects of Dobermon X in order to draw 1 card and trash 1 card when it's Digivolved into. If you have Goblymon and Protoform, combined together this can create a net 0 cost Evo because Protoform reduces the Digivolution by 1, and then resolving Dobermon X's effect will make you gain a memory of Goblymon's effect. Utilizing this can assist with putting Digimon in your trash and proc MrPhatAlexx when Digivolving and its when attacking effect. While true MrPhatAlexx can alliance with the play Dark Animal trait Digimon, the next step of course is looking at ways to make her even better. Because Purple has quite a few ways to unsuspend, this is where ultimately the Dock engine of course is also going to use the Cerberusmon engine. Cerberusmon has an on-play when Digivolving effect, where you may return 1 Digimon card with a Dark Animal or Shaman trait from your trash to the hand. It also has a Your Turn effect where when an effect plays one of your Digimon gains Rush for the turn. This is key on how to make things come together at the end. Because once you get into Cerberusmon X, this Digimon can also Evo on top of Cerberusmon for free, draw and pitch another card before it brings back a level 3 or lower Digimon. And with Cerberusmon, you give that Digimon Rush. It's because of these cards that you can effectively OTK your opponent in a single turn, because Cerberusmon gives your Digimon an ability in which you can unsuspend your Digimon by deleting one of your other Digimon. But that's not where the story necessarily ends, because in looking over top end lines to pair something else with MrPhatAlexx, she ended up becoming a side act instead of the main show. When perusing through lists, I was actually kind of surprised to see that many players had never really utilized the Dark Animal engine to the degree that I am in this video, because Fenry Lugamon is a perfect target. Fenry Lugamon has a Your Turn effect, in which the turn end condition is changed to your opponent having 3 or more memory. Meaning if you Digivolve into this Digimon and it puts the memory to 2, it's still your turn. When Digivolving, you may play 1 level 4 or lower card with the Dark Animal or SOC trait from your trash without paying the cost. However, if Eiji Nagasumi is in the Digivolution cards, you add 2 to the number this effect may play. Meaning in total you can set up potentially 3 bodies in a single turn. When attacking, once per turn by deleting one of your opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon, you unsuspend this Digimon. But for each of your Digimon you add 1 to the maximum level this effect may choose. Ultimately this means with Fenry Lugamon and 1 other Digimon in play, you can delete up to a level 5 or lower Digimon with this effect. So if you can put 2 bodies on board, you can pretty much delete anything. Keep in mind though that if this effect doesn't delete an opponent's Digimon, you do not unsuspend. One reason why this Digimon became the next point to look at is because the whole line for this Digimon is the Dark Animal trait, meaning your Loogamon and loogarmons are extremely effective. In some test games, if your opponent puts you to 2 or even 3 memory, it can spell a turn 2 OTK if your hand conditions are just right, which is where the combos come into play. Hand-wise, your opener can really be any of your level 3 Digimon. And going first, I'd like to have at least 1 level 3, a Dobermon, and a Dobermon X to start my whole combo. Because by doing so, this means that for passing my first turn, I can simply Evo into Goblymon and then into Dobermon and pass the turn. Promoting out, I can Digivolve into Dobermon X and draw 1 and trash 1, and then if other conditions are met, I can do more damage. On average, most decks will set you to 2 memory, and any forms of trainings and copies of Protoform can also be deadly. Turn 2 OTKs are possible, but turn 3 and 4 is extremely consistent. Your ideal opener is actually going to be best going into Lugamon and then setting a training for your first turn. Because should your opponent put you to 3 memory when your Digimon is in play, theoretically you can take out your opponent completely and just win, assuming there's no option bomb in the security. Promoting up, you can slot Lugamon with AG Nagasumi from the hand and gain 1 memory. Utilizing your trainings, you can now Digivolve into Dobermon or Dobermon X to climb the chain. Regardless, Dobermon X allows you to draw 1 and trash 1 card. Now Digivolving into Cerberusmon, you can return a Digimon back to hand, but chances are, you aren't going to. Instead, you're just going to climb immediately into Cerberusmon X, draw and trash another card before spawning out a level 3 Digimon. In most cases, if you can spawn out the BT23 Lugamon, you can attack with this Digimon to trash 1 card in your hand, say another level 4 Dark Animal trait Digimon, and do 1 check. Keep in mind, because the Digimon with the SOC was played, Lugamon gains you a memory and you gain a memory from Dobermon X because the Digimon was played. Digivolve now into Fenry Lugamon and you can spawn back out all 3 bodies from trash that you may have placed there, and you can potentially win this turn. Attacking with Fenry Lugamon allows you to alliance with one of these Digimon and simultaneously delete one of your opponent's Digimon to unsuspend it. In a situation where your opponent may have a Blast Evo target, you'll forego the Lugamon play and just go for a 5 security board clear. Check 2 security, and now you can attack again. Because of Cerberusmon X's effect, you can alliance with the first body before you delete it in order to once again unsuspend it. 2 more checks later, and your opponent's at 0. And then of course it's just a simple attack for game here. But because there's a chance for Blast Evo, this is where you would have all these bodies on board for the next turn to take your opponent out completely. For this specific ideal scenario, you need Lugamon, AG Nagasumi or some variant of him, along with a training to really combo off. As for memory, if your opponent sets you at 3 memory and you have the training, this is your best point of OTK. If your opponent sets you to 2, you'll need a training and a protoform, or maybe even a scramble. And if your opponent sets you to 1 memory, that's at minimum 2 trainings required. Largely, as much as I wanted to make MinervaMon the main star of the show, Fenry Lugamon ultimately became the dominating factor for this deck. Which means for the deck profile, expect literally the Dark Animal engine, slapped with some Fenry Lugamon cards, and of course 2 MinervaMon. For eggs, because we are on the BT23 Lugamon, we need to stay with purple SOC eggs, and because there's only 2 bowmon options, this largely doesn't matter. If you don't mind losing out on a turn, you can run the Tsunomon, which is a traditional use with the Dark Animal engine. But otherwise, there aren't a lot of options. Level 3s, this is where the deck got really interesting. At first, I looked at EX5 Labramon because on play, this Digimon can return 1 Digimon card with a Dark Animal or Shaman trait, and can gain you a memory when one of my Digimon is played by effect. However, Fenry Lugamon cannot play this card, so it's out. Though it was definitely something for the contentious 3rd spot. And while true, Goblimon can't be played by Fenry Lugamon or MinervaMon, what made this card valuable is that the memory gain wasn't conditional on playing a Digimon, but trashing a card in your hand. In some instances, you could climb all the way up your chain with Loogarmon into Cerberusmon X into Fenry Lugamon, but the additional memory from this was kind of important. Outside of this, it was good old BT23 Lugamon for tucking AG Nagasumi underneath it and gaining a memory, and then the BT15 variant as a secondary SOC Dark Animal target. Level 4s, Loogarmon is the biggest body of the level 4s, meaning with Alliance he provides some DP value. But the Dobermon X's provide the memory gain, dual utility of filling your trash, and also being valid targets for your top end. The last option for me came down to Dobermon because it's a great way to set up the back end with X in the hand. While I don't run any of the other Lugarmons, you definitely could, but that extra Evo cost might be problematic with a not so full SOC line for the base. Level 5s, as discussed, are currently the Cerberusmon and Cerberusmon X, and trust me, I get it. I get it that players want to run Chimeramon or the Dino Beamon in this deck. The only issue is, my level 4s do not run any red options to go with the Dino Beamon route, and for Chimeramon it's ultimately a DNA for game kind of deal. But I want to find my pieces as much as possible, and consistency is more important for me. Level 6s as mentioned, we're on the Fenry Lugamon and the MinervaMon. While MinervaMon also is a little awkward in that we don't Digivolve for 3 from Cerberusmons, the effect itself I felt was still worthwhile to try as a secondary level 6. While there's the argument I could have run the other Fenry Lugamons, I actually can't. Mainly because number 1, the other Fenry Lugamon is limited, and the other Fenry Lugamon doesn't even Digivolve off purple. I did consider Anubismon, but it seemed like a stretch for an aggro build, at least in my mind. If you do end up dropping the Minervamons though, it'd be more consistency purely to find Fenry Lugamons as fast as possible, because even if Fenry Lugamon is trashed, Cerberusmon can add this Digimon back. This build's focus is more so on the BT23 Fenri Lugamon and does not look at the takemikazuchi as an option. While you could go this route, you do run dead cards like kazuchimon, and you're running a lot more cards for the setup. With Digimon these days, you want to be as efficient as possible, and this deck definitely took me by surprise with how smooth it was. Side note, because Takemikazuchi Ace requires a yellow level 6 Digimon with Pulsemon in its text, funny enough, Shroudmon can go off the line, but this isn't something that I explored with this deck. Just something to note if you're looking at consistency and a DNA target that's searchable. And the last option I considered, but am not running, is Ruin Mode. Is it necessary? I don't really think so. Option-wise, the deck is very straightforward with 4 Wisdom Trainings for the consistency and delay reduction for Digivolution, 2 Scrambles which hilariously can potentially make a scrambled Lugamon into a Rush Body if you 1. Have enough memory, and 2. Climb into your Cerberusmon because then when you go into Cerberusmon X, you can give the stack itself Rush to climb into Fenry Lugamon for the shenanigans. But the last 2 options, of course, are the Protoforms. Considering 8 out of 10 targets of your level 4s have the X antibody trait, 4 out of 8 in the level 5 categories have it, and 4 out of 6 have it in the level 6 category. Needless to say, this can also recycle pieces in the stack. And then for Tamers, they're all Eiji Nagasumi. Codecracker Fang is also treated as Eiji and is the memory fixer. Codecracker Fang and Hacker's Judge provides not just Alliance on the Mind Link, but Piercing and Barrier as well. In the Royal Knight matchups, this can be exceptionally useful at the expense of your security. And then of course, the original Eiji Nagasumi for a cheaper cost Tamer to play. I opted not to run any analog youths, because ultimately if you do lose your stack, you'll either need to run 3 or 4 of them to effectively get them out, and try to retain turn before Fenry Lugamon is deleted. Instead, optimize the usage of your memory elsewhere with the deck. But all in all, this was one of the funnest purple decks I played in a while. And whether you agree or disagree with utilizing the Dark Animal engine with Fenry Lugamon, why do you think players haven't? And why is the focus more on utilizing Analog Youth, Tyrannomons, and other ways to trash sources before going all in? Bringing it into your Digimon effects makes it especially powerful, and this felt really consistent to me in testing. Let me know your personal thoughts, and I'll catch you next week on a new build that no one else has concocted. Stay tuned, because Mother is back in play. This Digi-Panda, logging out.